to webinar today hosted by Florida Limited. Today's topic is about using Enscape for BIM visualization. Today, we are so glad to have the Enscape expert to be our speaker today. This session will be hosted in English. You may also register the Cantonese session that's scheduled next week on October 12th. So here we have a couple of housekeeping. In any time of the webinar, should you have any question or feedback, please share it in the QA chat or chat box. We will get back to you in appropriate time or in the QA session in the end of the presentation. So before we get started, please allow us to have a brief introduction of ourselves for the limited. So our company has been established in 1993, over 28 years experience focusing on serving the Hong Kong user in AEC and product design industries. We work with the technical partner over the world to provide the latest and smarter software solution to Hong Kong users. For example, the BIM solution, the visualization software, and also the data management system. So please feel free to get in touch with us if you have any inquiries on these products. And today, it is our great honor to work with Enscape together to deliver an Enscape webinar to the Hong Kong users. Okay, so I'm so excited now to introduce Mr. Carl Bovilfo, the application engineer at Enscape, to share his experience on using visualization with Enscape, everybody. So welcome, Carl. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Dai Gai Hao, Go Hai Kai. Thank you very much for having me. That's the little bit of Chinese that I've learned with the help of my colleague Yu Wei. Thank you very much for that. Hey, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time and attending this session. Let me actually share my screen so you can see my PowerPoint. There we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Go Hai Kai Burival. I'm an application engineer here at Enscape. Yeah, I've joined the company 5 years ago now in 2016. I'm a trained 3D artist, so I've been able to share a lot of insight into visualization and the industry with the company in my time here. And in return, I've learned a lot about architecture, BIM, construction, and well, the built environments. By our users that I've had the pleasure to meet over the years in digital meetings and also in trade shows and in person. And today we are talking about Enscape, of course. Once again, thank you very much for having me. There's a great occasion to present what we are doing. What is Enscape? Briefly said, Enscape is a real-time visualization software, which means you as a designer, as an architect, you work with your existing software, with your existing workflows, with your day-to-day work. And Enscape is meant to support you in that by allowing you to create beautiful pictures, of course, or videos, virtual reality experiences, and so on, but also in just sharing understanding, knowledge, and preventing misunderstandings. We will see that later on in a live presentation that I'm going to show you in Revit. However, thank you very much. I see that it's been appreciated that I said hi in Cantonese. I hope I didn't offend anyone. Yeah, this is our DNA. Essentially, Enscape is meant to elevate your existing workflows or any architects, designers workflows that work with the softwares that we support. Enscape is a plugin, so it is not a standalone software that you export your project to. It is a plugin that directly accesses all the data that you have in your professional software. And by doing that, we've been able to really revolutionize the visualization and the entire communication of architects in between each other, within their teams, and of course also to their clients. And we hear a lot of that every single day, and it's a pleasure to receive that feedback. Essentially, we hear from a lot of clients of ours that we enable them to focus on their actual work of being creative and spreading their ideas. So let's continue. A couple data or a couple numbers about Enscape in general. We were founded in 2015. That is also when Enscape was commercially available for the very first time. We are a globally diversified business. We have 104 employees at the moment. We are still growing quite heavily from more than 15 countries. We are headquartered in my hometown in Karlsruhe, Germany. We have a SaaS business model, highly scalable technology infrastructure. And since the beginning, pretty much actually, over 85 of the top 100 architectural firms worldwide have been using Enscape. They've been really latching on really quickly because the benefit of Enscape is so obvious. And because of that, also 80% of sales are direct to end user via our website, enscape3d.com. I didn't notice this little mistake on here, but our website, just to show you, is enscape3d.com. Let me just show you. And here, if you have never tried Enscape yourself yet, this is also where you can try it, where you can download it for 14 days for free. So you have plenty of time to check everything out. And also, if you ever have any questions, feedback, anything you'd like to share with us, you can also request a free personal demo with me or with one of my application engineers down here on that website. Now, of course, also we offer a lot of training content, tutorials, sample projects, and so on this website. Yeah, again, one of our main principles is to integrate directly with existing CAD, BIM, design software, that is Revit, ArchiCAD, SketchUp, Rhino, and Vectorworks at the moment. And this is really what puts one of the main benefits of Enscape into perspective. With other visualization solutions, you will have a project that you're working on, a project that is stuffed with all matter of data, BIM information, fire safety and whatnot. And whenever you want to visualize it, you will have to take that model out of its course, out of the pipeline, and add some extra work, add materials, light it properly or illuminate it properly, and of course also export renderings, whatever you may aim for, videos, images. And this alone is a huge time factor. If anyone in the audience has visualized using a traditional visualization software before, you might have experienced that it can take literally hours to generate a single image on the computer, to render the image. And all of this is being solved by Enscape, because as you see at the bottom here, Enscape stays within your existing design. It accompanies your workflows. We'll have a look at that in a second, but that means you see, of course, what you're changing. If you're changing a material in your design application, you will see that immediately in Enscape without having to export, without having to deal with, import, export issues and all of that. But that's just the start, because Enscape can also access your geolocation information in your design software. It can access your 3D views, your visibility settings, and in the case of Revit, for example, also things like design options, section boxes, and so on. So you can really tailor your entire visualization, your entire communication with anybody using your existing design software and your existing experience. And you don't have to leave your existing workflows, which means, once again, you can focus on your actual design work. Here are some examples of how this makes Enscape valuable in every state of the design or project development. Literally, a lot of our users will start with a blank project in Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, whatever. And the first thing they'll do is they click the start button in Enscape and leave it open as a separate window into, well, what their design will actually look like once it's been built. And the window stays open for the entire time. One thing that we've often noticed when talking to our customers is they originally get an Enscape license to render faster, to generate images faster, or 360-degree panoramas, or whatever they want to do. And then they end up not rendering anymore, or rendering very rarely, because they can just open the Enscape window and explore everything, and also show that directly to their client. And even, as I have hinted at before, even bring them into virtual reality with just one click. Some more features that I will probably show later on, but that are really, really standing out. We have collaborative annotations. So there is an issue tracker built into Enscape where you can leave notes for your team, communicate about existing issues, set states when something yet needs to be done or is finished. We have a custom asset library. We have a 3D asset library with more than 2,500 models that you can pick from and use in your visualization right away. But we also support you importing any kind of models that you can generate yourself or get from online sources anywhere on the web in the most common formats, that is OBJ, FBX, and GLTF. We have orthographic views, we have view settings, of course. We have BIM information loaded directly into Enscape, so you can use Enscape as a full stack, so to say, reviewing tool and get everything you need to know about your design immediately right from one source. This is also a couple of features that I'm going to show you live in just a second. Virtual reality obviously is also a really huge point. This has been the reason for many Enscape users to get familiar with the software, because there is no solution out there, at least to my knowledge, that gives you access to VR in this quality, in the speed, and in this ease of access. We will see just in a second. Any Revit model is just 2 clicks away from virtual reality. You just need to have your VR headset connected. And you can even export standalone experiences from Enscape, meaning we can export one single file that your client or your supervisor, whoever, can open on their machine, and they can enable VR in that with just 1 click as well. And they don't even need an Enscape license for that. So you can generate entire experiences right out of your professional model with just 1, 2, 3 clicks. And I'll demonstrate that. Yeah, and here is just one more screenshot on BIM information and solar studies, which you can also do with Enscape. So I think it's time for us to have a look at Enscape itself. Just a little bit of housekeeping, just like Gloria mentioned before. If you have any question at any point about what I'm talking about or something in general regarding Enscape, feel free to post it in the Q&A field, and we will answer it later on during the session. Also, if I'm speaking too fast at any point, or if you want me to dial in to a certain topic in more detail, I will check the chat, and if there is anything, feel free to point it out whenever it fits you. So let's go to Revit. And I thought for this session, I would like to present on this sample, or this basic sample project, which is being shipped with Revit, because I think it points out how Enscape can access any kind of model right away. You can put a lot of work into your visualization, polish everything and make it look just the way you want, but you don't have to. Enscape is really designed to be user-friendly. So as opposed to a lot of other visualization softwares out there, you can really start with 1 click up here, open a window, and you have a a great visualization right away. So visualization for everybody, that is what we are aiming for. Now, this is what Revit will look like after you have installed Enscape. You can download the installer as mentioned right away from our website and try it yourself. And this is what it will look like. Now we have a sample project provided by Revit, shipped with Revit. You can open this very sample project right away in your Revit instance. And we have Enscape set to default. So this is what Enscape looks like right out of the box once you've installed it, or once again, any user of Enscape. And I'm just going to click the start button here up there. You have noticed we have this additional toolbar in Revit, of course, that comes with the Enscape plugin. I'm going to go through the individual buttons and tell you what those mean. But this is the main effect I wanted to show you. Enscape will open in a separate window right away. It's a separate window, so it is probably more comfortable to work with it on two screens, so you can continue having Revit in full screen, but it works this way just as well. And I'm going to use a little trick here. On Windows machines, you can press the Windows key and the right arrow key to dock one window to one half of the screen. And I'll keep Revit on the left half of the screen here. Now, you might think the visualization we see on the right side, that is an image that has been generated in this speed, but in that case, you're wrong, because this is actually interactive right away. So I can begin moving through the scene, exploring everything, have a look at the various perspectives, and if I want to, already start generating content. If you are new to a 3D software like that, the navigation is kept really simple. You can always click this little question mark at the upper right corner, and it will show you how to navigate here. It is WASD, W to move forwards, S to move backwards, A and D to move left and right. This is a kind of navigation that is common to a lot of 3D games. So if you have any experience with that, you will feel at home right away. If not, I recommend to just hold the W key in the beginning and click the left mouse button and move the mouse to navigate and steer in which direction you want to go. But that is just the beginning, of course. We can also hold the shift key and the right mouse button and move the mouse to change the daytime at any point of the day. And now you see a little clock in the lower right corner that tells us the daytime. This is also not just any daytime or something. As I've mentioned before, we are taking all the data from Revit or from any other design application that we can get, which includes the sun settings here in Revit. So if I go to the sun settings, let's switch it to still and just cycle through a couple locations here in my default city list. You will see it will change the daytime right away, or the sun angle right away. And if I press OK, it will display the sun position, sun angle that is correct at that time of day, in that time of year, in that location. So you can perform solar studies if you want to. You can really get a feeling for how the illumination will be in the building, in the project that you're working on once it's finished. Now, at this point, I would like to do one thing. This might feel like a little bit of a skip ahead, but I would like to get rid of this white, perfect background we have there. So I'm going to open our visual settings in Enscape and pick one of the horizon backgrounds that we provide. I'm going with mountains because I like that one a lot. And once again, I want to highlight that this is the Revit basic sample project that we didn't change anything about. Opened in Enscape with the default settings. I've just replaced the background. And we see already that you can generate really convincing and emotional content in no time. One little tip from a visual artist, whenever you want to create beautiful, convincing, stunning visualizations, the key to that is detail, because it is easy to create something perfect and flawless on a computer, but the real world has flaws and has details and has a little bit of chaos everywhere. So something like a horizon preset that I've just picked as an environment can go a long way in making your visualization believable and really make the viewer, the client, feel as if they are in that actual building. So yeah, this is what the sample model looks like by default. A couple notes on that. You may, for example, realize that we have actual grass being displayed here. Now, I've told you that we did not change this model in any way. So how does Enscape know that this is supposed to be grass? Now, that is one of the many useful little additions that we've just added. Once we've realized we have a great visualization platform here that people use to get familiar with their own designs, we've realized we have a huge power available to help them and elevate or simplify the processes even further with little tricks that just work for pretty much everyone. So in this case, we just told Enscape to look for the material name. We have our own material editor. We will have a look at that later on, so you can really get into detail, creating materials and all of that. But in this case, Enscape is just looking for the material name, and if it contains the word grass, we assume that you want this to be displayed as actual grass blades that also move in the wind like this. So once again, you don't have to put in any effort here. If you have a material that is called grass, it will work right away. And as mentioned before, of course, it is taking the rest of the material information directly from Revit. So if we wanted to go with a more light or with a brighter kind of grass, for example, this default grass in the sample project is always really, really dark. Let's have a look at what this texture looks like and press apply, and you will see those changes in Enscape immediately. And it looks way better, in my opinion, right away. Yeah, I've mentioned that before, but to really drive this point home, Enscape is connected to Revit the entire time. So if we move something like this here, for example, we will see the change being applied in Enscape right away. If I delete something, the same thing will happen. It will vanish from my Enscape visualization. And if I press Control Z in Revit to undo what I've just done, it will do the same in Enscape. And once again, this might also feel like a little bit of a skip ahead, but honestly, everything is so close connected in Enscape, and it's so easy to combine all of the different aspects in Enscape that I can just show you that quickly here. I have this VR headset, an Oculus Rift S in my case, that I've shown you before, and I just need to click this button up here, VR headset. Once again, we have just opened any Revit model here, and we can get it into a VR experience with just 2 clicks, starting Enscape and enabling VR. And now guess what? If I wanted to edit the model while I might have, for example, a team member or a client of mine in the VR experience. So you have to imagine they are seeing their future home here, and they might come up with, I like this, but I would like to see what the floor would look like in with wood on it, for example. So we can just go in here. Let me just grab any kind of wood material here right from the Revit default material library in here. This one looks nice. Let's go with cherry. Click apply, and even although we are in a virtual reality experience, you see all of those changes applied right away as a viewer. So once again, there is plenty for me to show you along the way there, but that's supposed to just show you how well Enscape integrates in your existing workflows and how you can just continue working like you used to, and Enscape just follows along. I've just canceled the material switch here, so we are back to our first, to our initial material. All right, now we could continue with the buttons, with explaining what Enscape does and how it does that. But I want to show you one more treat before we get there, because I've mentioned the speed of rendering and the speed how you can generate marketing content. And once again, this used to be a very, very time-consuming task. So for a, let's say, for example, for an ultra HD rendering in 4K with traditional software, and I've been there as a 3D artist, it's easy to wait 2 hours for that or longer, really depending on the perspective. And you probably know that as professional artists, that's once that image is finished, that is usually when you notice, oh, I still wanted to change that material, or something is not right there and you have to redo it again. With Enscape, we are changing the order of those things. So you see your result before you generate it. You always see what your actual export, what your actual visualization will look like. And once you get to exporting it, to actually creating a file out of it, it's also incredibly fast. So you've seen I've set up a 4K resolution for my rendering, and I just have to click that button up there, this one here, to generate a rendering. And this 4K rendering is actually finished faster than I can finish this sentence here. And as you see, let's have a look at the results. Let me just open my pictures folder here. There we go. And where is my image? There it is. This is the, oh no, sorry, that's the wrong result. That is from another presentation. Let me see. Did I save it in the right place? I mean, it's so quick. You can probably just do it again anyways. Oh, this is the one. So there's something wrong with my order here, but just a second. There we are. So this is the 4K rendering that I've just created. And as you see, you can zoom in and you have all the detail that you could expect, even with those little details that you have on the Revit materials already. But we'll dive deeper into the material content soon enough. Maybe to show off the speed of Enscape even more, let me quickly generate a video. If any one of you has ever tried to render a video, be that with Revit's onboard video creation or any external software, you know that it is its own task to set up that video. And I'm going to go into detail how to do this later on during the session, but it takes some time to set up the video and it takes even longer to generate the actual video file. In my case, Enscape is once again meant to be really, really easy to use. So I can generate this 23-second video in a couple of seconds. And if I'm satisfied with it, you know what, let me actually dial in some time lapse as well. So I'm going to set a time of day for my first keyframe that I've set up, and let me switch to a different time of day towards the end. Let's update, press P to preview what our video looks like. And we see now we have a moving sun. We have the clouds that move across the sky. And really just to show you how quick you can generate results, let me export this. We have 23 seconds, full HD, 30 frames per second. Let me export that. And during this, I like to tell the story back in my day, in 2014 or whatever, when I was working with Maya, in my case, as a 3D software. I managed to get a video export down to 4 minutes per frame, which meant that for a 30-second video with 30 seconds per frame, I would literally have my machine running at home for 8 hours a day, 5 days for a full week. And then you had a 30-second snippet that once again, you usually find some issues with that will get you to redo the rendering anyways. Now with Enscape, you can plan a video like this really quickly, grab a coffee, come back, the video is finished. You can send it to your client, get feedback on what you've designed, and get going much faster. Really, since the beginning, when we've spoken to all of those large architecture firms, they have told us about their workflows. They would meet up with the client. The client would maybe not have been satisfied with the look of their designs, and then they had to set up a new appointment 6 weeks later in order to generate new content and then present it to them again. With Enscape, you can do multiple iterations during one single meeting with the client, and even in virtual reality. So I think you can imagine how useful and how much of a speed factor Enscape is for architects, creatives, all around the world. So let's see. You know what? I can actually cancel this video here because I want to show you a couple more things. Enscape will still generate the video up to that point. So this is what that looks like. And we have an MP4 file that we can put on YouTube, put onto our website, or directly share with the client immediately. And the scale is 56 megabyte actually. So it's really simple. It's non-problematic, and you can just generate content. But let's go into a little more detail here. Before one last thing before I explain the buttons up here, I've missed out on lighting so far, but you might have guessed that by now. Enscape is just taking the correct lighting from your Revit project just as well. So there are no specific light sources for Enscape other than SketchUp. That is one exception because they don't have its own lighting system. But in case of Revit, for example, it will take your light shape, your light distribution type. If you are using an IES light, which adds for, which improves the visual quality of the light, all of that is being regarded, is being read by Enscape and displayed correctly. So wanted to highlight that as well. Right, let me see, there's already one question. I can answer that right away. Which GPU are you using? It seems the video export time is quite fast. In my case, I am using a NVIDIA RTX 2080 on my machine here. So it is a good graphics card. It is by far not the most recent or most powerful graphics card. And what I've mentioned before, Enscape being all about simplicity and ease of access, that is also true for hardware. So we really try to work on as many machines as possible, on as old machines as possible. And except for VR, which always requires a powerful machine, Enscape is incredibly forgiving and non-demanding in terms of hardware. So you can have a look at our system requirements. I can share the link with you, of course, but you don't even have to have a powerful machine like mine. Videos will render fast in any case. All right, let me show you a little bit of the interface and go into a little more detail. Now we have this button that I've pressed initially to start Enscape. Once Enscape is started, it will turn into the pause live updates button. Now to show that, this will just pause the updates from whatever you're doing in Revit, because sometimes you don't want to have Enscape update all the time. And as soon as you click resume, it will then update those changes. Really simple. Next one is the 3D view selector that you can access. This, as you see, only accesses your 3D views in Revit. So we have the same 3D views down here as we have them in Enscape. Once again, Enscape is trying not to generate its own data. It is trying to take your data and work reasonably with it. This is also really, really useful because I've mentioned initially, if you have some settings set up for any of your 3D views, like visibility, maybe you have hidden the walls in one view, or you have a section perspective applied, well, Enscape reads that from that view just as well and displays it correctly down to even the structural materials, as you see here So really all the data that we can get and use for your benefit, we do that. And yeah, everyone's happy, period. So next button here on the Revit side is render image into document. So this is a Revit only setting, which means if you want to use a rendering inside of Revit, you don't have to export it as an image file and re-import it. You can also save it directly in your renderings folder here in Revit. Next, we have the asset library. Now, this is a huge one. I've mentioned that in the beginning. We have a library of 2,005 or more than 2,500 assets, and it's always growing with every Enscape release. By the way, everything I'm mentioning here is available with every single Enscape subscription. There are no differences in packages or anything. We just give you everything you need with every single license, and it's up to you to make great work or great art out of it. Now, this 3D assets that we provide, those are really, once again, taking the best of both worlds, so to say, because you might know Revit is not ideal to work with external models. So on the Revit side, we can have a placeholder to keep the performance well in Revit, but in Enscape, we have this high detail animated model that you can set dress your scene with, and Enscape is really made for beautiful, complex graphics and to be able to still perform well. So that is really useful. If you want to drive this a little further than that, you can even connect any of our assets, or I mentioned initially, you can create your own custom assets. You can connect any of these to existing Revit families. So you can control exactly what something is supposed to look like in Revit and in Enscape. So I can just, click these three dots here, link Revit family to assets. And I know these chairs are called Artemis. So I'm just going to connect those, and you'll see nothing changes in Revit. We still have our family there with all the information connected, but Enscape just knows to replace that family with that high quality model. By the way, you might want to keep it that way because, of course, Revit can hold a lot of valuable information. And you can, as mentioned before, you can review that right in Enscape as well by either pressing on this button up here, the BIM mode, or just press B. And this lets you select an object in Enscape, and it will access the data from Revit. So in this case, you see we now have our Artemis lounge chair data here, including things like manufacturer data, pricing, whatever details you are saving in the building information modeling, in the BIM information in Revit. Then, with the latest update, we've also introduced our own Enscape material library, which provides a series of predefined materials that are at your that you can use and that are just preset to look stunning right away. And the way you handle these is you just click on one and import it. And once again, we are not trying to split up your workflows in any way. This will just import this material into your existing Revit material library. So let's see. I might have forgotten what the name of the material was already. Let's see if I can find it, or I'm just going to have to open the material library again. Let's see. Oh no, let me just open it again to see which. Oh, that's the wrong one. To see which one I've just downloaded. And that was Wood 06, I think. So let's get back to our Revit material library. Go to W, and there it is, Wood 06 Chevron. So actually, I might already want to apply this to my floor here. And as you see, I'm doing all the changes to the model always in Revit. Enscape is really not meant to change anything about your model. It is meant to visualize it and help you understand it in the best possible way. So this is the material that we've downloaded. However, it is now a default material in your Revit, in your Revit sphere. So if we want to change anything about it, for example, let's change the color to maybe the client wants to see a more reddish wood. Let's change it here in Revit, and you see the changes update in Enscape right away. And that is true for, you know, all of these things. So if we wanted to add some self-illumination to the mix, if we have, you know, like a monitor or something that is supposed to glow, all of these features are being supported by Enscape. Let's switch back to daytime. Let's switch back to our Enscape toolbar and let me have a look at the time. I'm so much rambling and I have so much fun talking about Enscape. The time flies as always. There's another question. Will ray traced sun shadows work in the native plugin in the future? We have actually ray traced sun shadows, we always had a sort of ray tracing or path tracing with our shadows. So they work right away. I'm not sure if I understood the question right. Of course, if there was a misunderstanding, please feel free to clarify. Then we also have our own Enscape material editor for Revit, which lets you once again act like before. We have very comparable settings to the Revit material editor, so you will feel at home right away. But we also have different material types. For example, the grass that I've shown you before, we can make our floor look like water and so on. And once again, you see this beauty of having direct feedback and directly seeing what you're changing here. And that is really, really useful. There we go. I like this floor most. Also, one little tip that we have added just with one of our recent updates, you can even load in video files as image files. So if you have something like a video, like maybe the video that we've done earlier, I think this should be that one, you can load them in instead of image textures and use them the same way. So once again, if you want to visualize a monitor, fire, anything that moves pretty much, you can go that way just as well. And once again, we can combine the best of both worlds because Revit does not provide this feature natively, but we thought it would be really useful for our users. Next, here is the Manage Uploads button. I'll treat this just briefly. Here you can access panoramas that you have created. Panoramas, 360-degree images, or web standalones. So I've mentioned before that you can export your entire Enscape experience into one single file. Well, you can also upload it to the cloud and let it be reviewed in a browser. So you can put a link on your website and people can review your designs right away in their web browser. Or you can share a panorama like this. Let me actually take this one and let me remove it from the cloud so it looks like I've just generated the panorama. By the way, to generate that panorama, you click the button up here. You have two types of panoramas. One of them is meant for Google Cardboard, so a mobile phone-based VR experience. And let me just upload this to the cloud. And this lets you share this panorama in no time as well, because you can, for example, share a QR code. If someone in the audience is quick, you can scan this QR code with your mobile phone and you will see the panorama on your phone right away with, you know, the movement tracking and everything. So you can, for example, print these as stickers and put them onto the construction site for people to watch the full experience. Or you can, of course, also just access it in the browser, share the link. Let me actually share this with all of you in the chat if you want to review it in the browser, but don't do so yet because we only have 10 minutes left as far as I see it. And I have still so much to show you that is really, really nice and useful. So we can simulate sound in Enscape, but let me actually put Enscape into full screen here. And let's have a closer look at the exports and the ways of interacting with your project. I've shown you the BIM, building information data before. I also want to show you our collaborative annotations, which means you can create an issue down here, add a title. save that as a file, or sorry, save that as an issue here in my project. And now there are multiple ways of sharing these issues. You can, for example, export them as BCF, BIM collaboration file, that is the industry standard. You can share these issues using BIM track, which is also a very commonly used software. Or you can just share your Revit project, because Enscape will save any of these issues that you have here, and of course, all the comments that you can leave to it and so on, right in the Revit file. So if you're working on a shared model file, or if you're giving your work to a contractor or something like that, they can review these issues right in Enscape directly from the Revit model just as well. Next, I want to show you the view management, which you can also open by pressing the F key. And this will let you access the same views directly from Revit that we have seen earlier. And once again, of course, if we switch to a view with a section perspective, it will apply that section perspective. If we switch to a view with a design option applied or view settings, it will read all of that, the datetime, and that way you can prepare a full-fledged presentation up front just using your 3D views. You can even drive this further than that by going to the visual settings. The visual settings are a pot of gold that we didn't get to discuss yet, but you can switch to light view in here, for example, to get an analysis, how much lux is falling onto each surface. Let's see, and you can connect these settings via presets to your 3D views just as well. So you can really control a full presentation and prepare it upfront. I call it the Enscape PowerPoint presentation, so to say, and really have full control over everything that you want to show. So yeah, I see that the time, as mentioned, flew once again. I didn't really get into the details of how to generate these exports. There is plenty of things to show, but we have a couple of really great tutorials on our website that will help anybody to get started with Enscape. And honestly, once again, since it's just honoring your existing workflows, you can get really creative with all of this, but there is no requirement for it. You can just open the window, navigate a bit, and do the rest in Revit, and Enscape will just follow. So I'm being asked, do you want to allow some minutes for Q&A audio? I think I want to do that. There was one question before that. Does video texture support AVI and MOV format? Yes, it does. Let me actually show you what formats are being supported here. Let me open the material editor, go into any one here, and all supported files. We can go with video texture files. We have MP4, MPEG, M2V, 3GP, AVI, MOV, and MKV, which we support as video textures. So I hope that answers that question. And apart from that, I hope you enjoyed my brief little overview over some of the Enscape features already. If there are any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type them into the Q&A or the chat, and I'll be happy to respond.